Commander Zexhi's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession as she reviewed the initial biological assessment of the newly contacted species from the third planet of the Sol system. The report made for disturbing reading. "No natural armor plating," she muttered, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into standard galactic. "Thin skin that tears easily. No redundant organs. Single heart, single brain. How did these humans even survive to develop spaceflight?" Her second-in-command, a crystalline Vorthan named Krelax, resonated agreement through the ship's hull. "The initial contact team reported similar concerns, Commander. They appear to be among the most fragile sapient species we've encountered. Even the gossamer colonies have better natural defenses." Zexhi clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. The gossamers were essentially sentient soap bubbles, but at least they could reform if punctured. These humans seemed to lack even that basic survival mechanism. "And yet," she said, pulling up stellar charts, "their expansion rate rivals that of the old hegemony. They've established colonies on 17 worlds in just 2 centuries, since achieving interstellar travel. How?" The question would be answered sooner than expected. 3 days later, proximity alarms shrieked through the observation vessel. Careful study. A human cargo ship, the Persistence, had suffered a catastrophic engine failure just outside the asteroid belt they'd been surveying. The ship was venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. "Life signs?" Zexhi demanded. 12 humans aboard," reported the sensor officer. "But Commander, their ship is heading directly into the furnace." The furnace was what the survey team had nicknamed the Hellish Asteroid, where they'd been conducting xenogeological research. Its core temperature exceeded 2,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt most known metals. Nothing could survive there. "Signal our rescue ships." "Commander!" The sensor officer's voice cracked with disbelief. "One of the humans, they've left their ship." On the main screen, a figure in a bulky white suit jetted away from the doomed Persistence using what appeared to be a primitive maneuvering pack. The human was heading not away from the furnace but directly toward it. As their brain malfunctioned from oxygen deprivation, Zexhi wondered aloud. They watched in horrified fascination as the human landed on the furnace's surface. According to their sensors, the surface temperature where the figure stood was over 800 degrees Celsius. Any Zelkarian would have been flash-cooked in seconds. Even Zexhi's own heat-resistant carapace would have begun cracking at half that temperature. But the human kept moving. "What is that creature doing?" Krelax resonated confusion through the hull. The human had found a partially melted mining probe, one of their own, abandoned when the heat had overwhelmed its cooling systems. With tools that seemed absurdly primitive, the figure began working on the probe's power core. "Impossible," breathed the sensor officer. "The human has been on that surface for 18 minutes. By our calculations, they should have died in less than 3. 27 minutes later, the probe's emergency beacon activated. The human had somehow repaired it despite working in conditions that would have been instantly lethal to any known sapient species. But the human's ordeal was far from over. As they watched, the figure's suit began venting gas. A seal had finally failed under the extreme conditions. Without hesitation, the human leaped from the asteroid's surface, using the last of their maneuvering fuel to aim for a nearby ice comet. "Now they'll freeze to death," Zexhi said with certainty. The comet's surface temperature was minus 230 degrees Celsius. No organic life can survive such extremes. The human hit the comet hard and disappeared from visual contact for nearly an hour. When they reappeared, they had somehow fashioned a crude shelter from ice and debris. More impossibly, they seemed to be generating heat. Their suit's thermal signature showed they were actually warming the space around them. "How?" Krelax's resonance had taken on an almost musical quality of bewilderment. "I'm more interested in why," Zexhi replied. "What could possibly motivate such behavior?" They got their answer when the human suit radio crackled to life, a broad-spectrum distress call that their translators could decode. "This is Chief Engineer Sarah Chen of the merchant vessel Persistence. My crew is trapped in the cargo hold with limited oxygen. I've activated the emergency beacon. Repeat, 11 souls need immediate rescue. I'll keep this signal running as long as possible." The human, Sarah Chen, had endured fire and ice not to save herself, but to call for help for others of her species. "Fascinating," Zexhi murmured. "Dispatch rescue ships immediately." "Commander, there's more." The sensor officer's voice was tight with something approaching awe. "The human suit has completely failed. They're now exposed to hard vacuum. On screen, they could see Sarah Chen's figure lying still on the comet's surface, no longer protected by her environmental suit. In vacuum, most species would die in seconds as their blood boiled and their organs ruptured. Even the hardy Zelkarians could only survive for minutes before succumbing. But somehow, impossibly, Sarah Chen's life signs remained steady. When the rescue ships finally reached her 4 hours later, they found her unconscious but alive. The medical team reported that she had somehow entered a state of suspended animation, slowing her metabolism to survive in conditions that should have killed her within minutes. Later in the medical bay of the careful study, Sarah Chen sat up in her recovery bed and smiled at Commander Zexhai. Her skin was covered in what the humans called frostbite and radiation burns, injuries that would have been fatal to most species. Yet she acted as if they were minor inconveniences. "Thank you for rescuing my crew," she said simply. "How?" was all Zexhai could manage. "How did you survive?" Sarah's smile widened. "Humans are persistence hunters, Commander. Back on Earth, our ancestors could track prey for days, outlasting creatures much faster and stronger than us. We don't quit, ever. My crew needed help, so quitting wasn't an option." She gestured to her bandaged arms. "As for surviving the heat and cold and vacuum, well, Earth is what you might call a death world. Extreme temperatures, radiation, toxic atmosphere in some regions, crushing pressure in our oceans. We evolved to handle things that would kill most species. We just adapt." Commander Zexhai stared at this small, damaged creature who had somehow survived impossible conditions through sheer will and bizarre biology. She thought of the 17 human colonies expanding into space at a rate that alarmed the Galactic Council. Perhaps she realized they had been asking the wrong question. It wasn't how humans had survived to develop spaceflight. The question was, what could possibly stop them now? As if reading her thoughts, Sarah Chen's smile became something that might have been predatory on any other species. On her, it simply looked determined. "We're just getting started out here, Commander. The universe is big, but humans are patient. We'll get everywhere eventually." Looking into those strange, forward-facing predator eyes, Commander Zexhai found herself believing it completely.